Hello and welcome to the Arise interview, 60 minutes of multifaceted discussion where we speak to the newsmakers as well as ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and we feature the voices at the heart of the stories. I'm Charles Anyagolu. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, as Boko Haram moves more purposefully from the northeast to other parts of Nigeria and attacks by marauding bandits continue to rise with almost daily reports of fresh kidnappings, Nigerians are asking what can be done about rampant insecurity. It's in all corners of the country, and President Buhari, as Commander-in-Chief, is accused of having lost control. So what does this slew of killings, robberies, kidnappings and terrorism tell us about the security landscape in Nigeria today? We have analysis from a security analyst and former US military officer who saw combat in Iraq and Afghanistan. And later, a new urban, younger flavor of West African highlife music from the Cavemen, a Lagos-based Nigerian youth band that's inspired by vintage highlife music from the 50s and 60s. They call it highlife for a new generation, the sort of relaxing fusion of indigenous rhythms and Western melodies that evokes idyllic images of post-independence Nigeria, with friends and family sitting under palm trees drinking palm wine, while highlife music blares from a wireless transistor radio. Well, today we bring back those memories with my special guests, the Cavemen, coming up. Now, insecurity seems to be a popular word in Nigeria at the moment, what with Boko Haram moving stealthily across the north, attacks by bandits on the rise, and kidnappings an almost daily occurrence. And even as insurgent terror becomes more frequent and more deadly, particularly against security forces in the northeast, criminal groups are reportedly being infiltrated by jihadists in the northwest and are stepping up attacks on civilians, kidnapping lots of people. The north central region is also getting more deadly. Then there is the southern part of Nigeria, which is beginning to show signs of early insurgency. There was some ray of light with the announcement that 27 forestry school students were released. They were kidnapped back in March. But whilst their release was being celebrated, there was another attack in Niger State and yet another abduction in Abia State. Well, for his analysis on the rampant insecurity that's gripping virtually all parts of Nigeria, I'm joined now in the studio by the international security analyst and former US Army officer who saw combat in Iraq and Afghanistan, Captain Bish Johnson. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So it seems like one good thing happens in one part of Nigeria, with regard to security, then another bad thing happens in another part, which seems to support the notion that there's been an unprecedented breakdown of internal security cutting across all corners of Nigeria.
There's no question about that. Those in charge of governance and leadership in this country have lost complete control of what is going on in this country. There seems to be competition amongst all the various geopolitical zones in this country over who is going to outdo the other. And I want to use this medium and this opportunity to appeal to members of the Nigerian media to properly designate the groups that are rampaging northwestern Nigeria as terrorists. You see, that is where we got it wrong. We got it wrong from not properly designating these people. We call them bandits. They are not bandits. They are terrorists. Let me give you the definition of a bandit. A bandit is a robber or an outlaw belonging to a gang and typically operating in an isolated or lawless area. Now look at the UN definition of terrorism. This is in November 2014. A Secretary General of the United Nations report described terrorism as any act intended to cause death or serious bodily harm to civilians or non-combatants with the purpose of intimidating a population or compelling a government or organization to do or abstain from doing any act, which is exactly what these people are doing, right? When you are a robber, you don't go and burn down a village. You don't rape women, girls. You don't abduct hundreds of students and use them as bargaining chip to collect money from government. Some people have said that because they don't have political objective, therefore they are not terrorists.
In other words, they don't have an ideological basis for doing what they're doing.
You don't have to have. Terrorism is not only based on the aims and objective of the organization. Terrorism is equally based on the modus operandi, the method of operation. If you look at the method of operation of these people, it's no different from what Boko Haram has been doing. So the media needs to help us to properly designate these people as terrorists.
Well, actually, there are two important points there. I mean, I think what you're saying is very interesting. The first one is that there is what appears to be intelligence information suggesting that some of these criminal bandit gangs have been infiltrated by jihadists and that they're now working in concert with them. That's the first thing. The second thing is that much as I take on board the point you're making about the redesignation of these bandits as terrorists because that meets the criteria,
sure.
It's not up to the media to designate people terrorists or bandits. It's up to the government who would designate them as terrorists, and then they will be referred to as such.
By the time the media begin to call them terrorists that they are, the government will have no option to feel the pressure and the heat, and they will follow suit.
Anyway, let's not get bogged down in that because you're saying some very interesting things here. Given all the assessment that you've made, this upsurge of killings, robberies, kidnappings, etc., and of course along with the traditional incidents of terrorism that we know of, insurgents and so on in the Northeast, is there a case for President Buhari to step up leadership? Are people just expressing their frustration by calling on him to do so, as his supporters have claimed?
Look, I don't know what he's been doing. It doesn't seem like we have a president who is actually in charge. It seems that things are just running on their own, you know, or there are a few power centers in the government that are doing one thing or the other. We have not felt the impact of this president, honestly speaking. He's not been leading from the front. As a former military officer, you don't lead from behind, you lead from the front. That does not seem to be the case with this president. He seems to be leading from behind. Nobody knows who is in charge. People comes out, they make statement, and they say, look, presidency said. Who the heck is presidency? Who is presidency? Presidency is no one individual. So you see confusion everywhere. And that is why nobody seems to be in charge. And that is why you see the country is at the precipice. You know, I've heard people use the terms, you know, failed states that is being bandied around. And if you look at what is going on in the country right now, you will not be mistaken if you're using that phrase, failed state.
Well, I don't think it quite applies to Nigeria yet, although the situation may well change as things continue to deteriorate. But you've been, I mean, you are a former U.S. Army captain. Sure. You saw combat in Iraq, in Afghanistan, and of course in places like Afghanistan, it's a combination of, you know, conventional warfare and asymmetric
sure.
War. There have been complaints that Boko Haram and other groups appear to have overpowered the army. Perhaps that's too strong a term. Is that how you see it?
Look, the thing is that this thing is not only for the military. What is happening in Nigeria is far beyond the military. The political class have to get involved. The military is already involved. They are doing their part, but they can't solve the problem alone. The ordinary civilians have to get involved. Look, where is the DSS in all of these states?
That's the Department of State Security.
Yes, the Department of State Security. They are the lead agency when it comes to domestic intelligence. Where are they in all of these states? The DSS seems to be missing in action. You only hear them come out and give periodic statements of general nature that people are trying to overthrow the government. But you have never heard them say, look, we have specific intelligence that so and so is going to happen in so and so places, and they share it with the military and all the other government agencies. That doesn't seem to be the case.
Well, we don't know that for sure. They may not come out and say it.
If they are saying this, they should be able to preempt some of all these things that are happening in this country. These things are so common and so insistent that if they are actually doing that, you will not have the repeated occurrences of the kind of insecurity that we have in the country right now.
Meanwhile, lots of growing divisions coming from the regions in the southwest, the southeast, and so on. that's a difficult thing for a president to contain.
Sure, because they allow the problem to fester, particularly with these bandits, paying them ransom. This banditry thing has become a commercial entity, is a commercial venture between those who are kidnapping, the bandits themselves, the terrorists themselves, those who say they are negotiating on their behalf, and even possibly those in government that are releasing the money. Now, when you have a situation like that where there is redistribution of income amongst a certain group of people in a particular region, other regions will take note. There seems to be a competition in Nigeria right now, and it's going to get worse if they don't run in the problem of this so-called banditry in northwestern Nigeria, when other youths in other parts of the country sees this thing as a means of livelihood, because that's what it is right now. It's a commercial venture. People are making fortune out of other people's misfortune.
And from people who are mostly jobless.
Exactly. And so these things must be rendered. You cannot use our federal money to pay ransom to a particular group of people from a particular region, and you expect the other regions to fold their hands and watch you.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is there anything that the president can do now to bring everybody together in this country? Can there be a rallying point, or have things fallen irretrievably apart?
Well, I don't want to be pessimistic about the situation. You know, I don't want to be hopeless. But I think that this president had waited for too long to be able to bring this country together. It's much more difficult for him to bring this country together than it was when he won the election in 2015. Myself, who is sitting down here, was one of the fiercest supporters of this president in 2015. I thought that after the election, this president would have used that opportunity to bring the country together. But he didn't do it. Instead, he was giving analysis and examples of 97% and 5%. We understand that every part of the country cannot support you in every election. If all of Nigeria's electors, 100% of them vote for you, that election will be invalid. So there will be dissenting voices and opinions, but it does not mean that you cannot bring the people together.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that I am afraid that he does not have the time to actually bring the country together, because so many people right now are very much aggrieved.
Captain Bish Johnson, a former U.S. Army officer and now a security analyst, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.